Sir, have you discussed your Charter of Demands or Hindu Charter of Demands with so-called secular parties of India?
No, we haven't actually even discussed with so-called communal parties.
You do it.
Uh,
If you
so,
got it. And let there be a big public
yes,
debate over it.
yes. The idea is to publicize it. I mean, I'm actually a little sad that we have only 56,000 or so signatures, and we were thinking we were going to meet our target of 1 lakh signatures very quickly. So again, it's very important that this not be like a one-way thing. If people feel about these issues, you have to take an initiative, right? Everybody has to step up and say, I'm going to do something, right? I'm going to, at the very least, you can go ahead and sign the Hindu Charter page right now if you haven't done it, right? Make sure that you share it on your WhatsApp groups. Make sure that you share it with your friends on your email list, on your Facebook, on your Twitter. At least we should be able to get to 1 lakh signatures to show somebody that some people care about this. Right now, we haven't even achieved that target. So very important to do that, yeah. And then that gives us the power to go talk to more political parties and so on and so forth.
I'm really surprised when you stated that this conversion leads to a complete loss of culture and tradition and so on and so forth. But in fact, the church has a very strong acculturation philosophy for a long time. And, it believes in retaining all these valuable things like song, dance, literature, and so on, so long as it is subordinated to the church doctrine. So, and the second point is that as part of that acculturation, what has happened is your talk seems to indicate that everything comes from the West in a sort of colonial mode. But the fact is, the majority of missionaries these days are actually Africans, Indians, Koreans, and so on. So, yes, maybe the money is there, but a lot of the hard work on the ground is actually being carried out by non-white, non-European people.
Sure. I think both are very good questions. Let me address the second one first. Changing to a local missionary strategy was also part of the AD 2000 document. So in the AD 2000 document, they explicitly said that the notion of sending missionaries from the West to India and Africa, especially to India, is not working as well. What we need to do is we need to grow Indian missionaries. So this was an explicit target, and they have succeeded in that target, right? So that's definitely true. As far as loss of culture goes, see, we have to understand what are native traditions. Native traditions, the best way I've found so far is they're actually knowledge systems. They are propagating a certain knowledge of how to live in a particular environment, right? And so all the Devis, Devtas, what is our Ishta Dev is all linked to that knowledge system. So what happens is that when the conversion activity happens, that link that sustains that knowledge system is actually broken. So you have the shell of culture, right? So you have the acculturation strategy. Now you're doing Jesus Bharatnatyam or whatever kind of thing that you're doing, but that is not able. There is a certain complete stack of knowledge that is part of the Bharatnatyam. You cannot separate the Bharatnatyam from the Vedanta tradition. You cannot separate the Bharatnatyam from all of the notion of what it means to be liberated, right? While retaining what is actually the Bharatnatyam, right? So what happens is that you kind of retain a little bit of the shell. It's like you retain the cover of it, but the essential part that sustains that ecosystem gets broken.
The biblical quote is old wine in new bottles.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So what happens is, again, also it's necessary to realize, see, they are criticizing what they call false gods, right? And they say you're worshipping false god. But we actually don't even have a notion of worship like they do. For us, anything which is worthy of respect is pujaniya, right? So whatever we respect is pujaniya, right? There is no, for them, worship is reserved for the true God, right? And if you worship anything other than the true God, then that's blasphemy. But from the native point of view, firstly, Brahman is sarvavyapi, everything is Paramatma. So there is no true God versus false God, that doesn't make any sense. And secondly, anything that is worthy of respect is pujaniya from our point of view.
When we say namaste, we worship the other person.
Yeah. We in fact, if somebody says you worship tools, what's stupid the idea? You worship your pen, you worship your axe, you worship your scalpel. From a Abrahamic point of view, that is complete nonsense. Doesn't make sense. Why would anybody worship? But for us, that notion of worship itself does not exist. We are saying, because I have a relationship with my tools, I use them, I respect my tools, and therefore that becomes Shastra Puja, Astra Puja, or whatever, right? So it is a completely different ecosystem of ideas, and you cannot easily map one for the other. And so what happens is in the conversion is that the husk of the culture is there, but the seed is gone, right? So it is destructive. Any other question?
Thank you for a wonderful lecture, first of all. I have two comments. It's not exactly a question. One is what you said, is that how deeply they have penetrated. And I can give an example from that. In a conference on, thank you. In a conference on attachment theory, where I was giving a talk, it was an international seminar. I was talking about bonding, and one of the persons in the audience got up and said that Hinduism prevents bonding unlike any other religion. And he had studied in order to counter the religion on that aspect, and we got into a discussion. But he had really studied Hinduism to say that Hinduism, because of its caste system, prevents bonding. That was the time when I became aware that, and then when I found out he was from a certain background, who had specifically come over there to counter me, on
Yes.
that aspect.
Actually, it's very important to realize, let me just respond to that. These are branches of theology. Polemics is a branch of theology. Apologetics is a branch of theology. Do we understand what these terms mean? What is polemics and what is apologetics? Right? Apologetics is a branch of Christian theology that says, when somebody is criticizing Christianity for something, their entire universities, schools, PhDs, graduate students that are studying how to counter those attacks. That's called apologetics. Polemics is the branch of theology which attacks other religions and is a systematic study of how to attack the other religion. Right? This is entire universities, branches, schools are doing this. In India, if I even have a mild criticism of Christianity, everybody becomes uncomfortable. What are you doing? You cannot do this. This is unsecular. Right? There are entire institutions, schools that are studying this. And then that gets secularized. Some of it is coming from the theological standpoint, and then some of it gets secularized even in the liberal art side of it, because the secularization and the social sciences also are eventually based on those same ideas.
Sure.
Right? They're just secularized ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, the second point I wanted to make was that about the Northeast.
Yeah.
I once had a discussion with someone who was involved in this, and he said it doesn't really matter because they are all animists. So they don't even see them as part of Hinduism. They see their belief system as animist, which is less than that of a religion. And so therefore, they have no sense of guilt in converting them to Christianity. It is not Hinduism as far as I understand.
No, I think that, animism, all of these terms, polytheism, monotheism, animism, these are all terms of Christian theology. This entire spectrum of how you look at other people is Christian theological, right? So this whole gaze itself does not make any sense. These categories do not make any sense. We never classified these people as animists, right? That kind of term would be nonsensical in the Indian tradition, right? The people who so-called Hindu people were not looking at the so-called tribal people and saying these people are animists, right? This entire way of looking at people comes from their view of the world. So we need to discard that entire thing, lock, stock and barrel, which means that we have to create our own terminology. We have to create our own system for studying this, right? Which we haven't done. For instance, I'll give you a simple example. This might be a longer discussion. Monotheism, if you look how it's translated in Hindi, look in the dictionary, it says Ek Ishwarvad. Monotheism is Ek Ishwarvad. मैंने कहा एक ईश्वरवाद, ईश्वर तो एक ही है, इसमें वाद क्या है, विवाद क्या है? इसमें तो कोई विवाद नहीं है. तो उसके लिए हमको नया शब्द बनाना पड़ेगा। मैं उस शब्द को खोज रहा हूं, तो उसका शब्द मैंने सोचा है कि ये ईश्वर उपासक नहीं है। ये क्यों नहीं है? क्योंकि ये यहोवा बोलता है, आई एम अ जेलस गॉड, यू शैल हैव नो अदर गॉड्स बिसाइड्स मी। ईश्वर तो ये नहीं बोल सकता कि आई एम अ जेलस गॉड। दिस वुड बी नॉनसेंसिकल स्टेटमेंट इन द इंडियन ट्रेडिशन। Who can say I am a jealous god? An asura can say that. An asura has conflict with other asuras, right? So इसको एक असुरवाद बोल सकते हैं ना, वो क्योंकि हिरण्यकश्यप की कहानी यही तो है ना, कि वो कह रहा है कि मेरे को पूजोगे और किसी को पूजोगे मैं तुमको मार दूंगा। आसुरिक है ना ये, तो ये आसुरिक सोच है। तो एक असुर है यहोवा नाम का, जो कह रहा है कि और किसी को पूजोगे तो मैं तुमको मार दूंगा। तो हमको वो उस तरह से अपने आधार पर देखना पड़ेगा, है ना। एक दैविकता बोल दो, देव तो कई होते हैं, तो उन्होंने कहा एक ही देव है, एक ईश्वरवाद नहीं है। तो हमने हिंदी में भी उसको ट्रांसलेशन एक ईश्वरवाद कर दिया है। तो यानी कि हमने, इफ वी हैव नॉट स्टडीड द थियोलॉजी, देन वी एक्सेप्ट दैट ट्रांसलेशन एंड से इट्स ओके, बट वी हैव टू क्रिएट आवर ओन इंटायर टर्मिनोलॉजी। एक कोई है ट्विटर के ऊपर, उसने बड़ा मजेदार बोला, शूलित शव उपासक। शूलित शव उपासक, ये कौन है ये अब आप सोच लीजिए। तो वो आके बोलते हैं कि आपका एलिफेंट गॉड, ये गॉड है ना। हम क्यों नहीं बोलते कॉर्प्स गॉड? भाई वो टांग रखा है आपने, शव को टांग रखा है, उसकी बड़ी पूजा करो। ये कौन करता है शव की पूजा? और ये थियोलॉजी से आ रहा है, मैं वो मजाक में नहीं कह रहा। थियोलॉजी सेज कॉर्पस क्रिस्टी, body of Christ. Corpse is the word body. So I am not mocking them. I am saying you are corpse worshippers. Why are we not studying it like that? So that means that we have to forcibly do apologetics and we have to do polemics. Those branches are being applied against us, but we have to learn and we have to do. We have to create strategies. No?
So I think we have to start it in our schools. The basic mistake is that in our schools, no Indian traditions or Hindu religions or the difference between the two is taught at all.
Yeah. In fact,
from there, then everything starts. Such innocent tradition is putting a bindi is also looked down upon in Christian schools.
Yes.
Tying a rakhi.
Yeah. See, it is not innocent.
Or wearing a thread, sacred thread.
Yeah. From their point of view, it is not innocent. Everything that links to that link has to be broken, right? So once the link is broken, then the conversion becomes.
Therefore, this has to be started in schools.
Yes.
Somewhere it has to, in your chart of demands.
Yes.
This first demand should be that it should be taught in the schools.
I think even before the schools, at least we can teach it in homes. We are not even teaching it in homes, right?
The
So
children, if the children learn it in schools, they will at least in future start learning.
yes, but you know, so school, then the whole secularism will be in danger and all kinds of things will happen, right?
Home,
तो अभी तो मॉर्निंग प्रेयर जो होती है
हाँ।
स्कूल्स में, वो एक जो हमारे यहाँ तुम्ही हो माता पिता तुम्ही, उसके ऊपर ही ऑब्जेक्शन आने लगे कि हिंदुइज्म सिखाया जाए।
नहीं, उसके ऊपर ऑब्जेक्शन है। और अगर मैं उसको देख रहा था, रोहतक यूनिवर्सिटी है, जो महर्षि दयानंद यूनिवर्सिटी है, रोहतक यूनिवर्सिटी, उसका मैंने MA इंग्लिश का करिकुलम देखा। 60% ऑफ द करिकुलम इज डायरेक्टली क्रिश्चियन थियोलॉजी। उसके अंदर ruminations in the abbey, Pilgrim's Progress, these are actually core, these are coming straight away from a Christian theological point of view.
The whole education is to be changed.
Yes, of course.
Project.
The problem is coming from education. Yeah. Any other question?
Yes, sir.
Hi, Piche.
Sir, recently, before 4 years,
हाँ.
one peace accord was signed with the Nagas.
हाँ.
But now reports are coming that it is not reaching the what was intended. And one of the main organization which is opposing it is Forum of Naga Reconciliation, and it was formed in 2008. And some of the organization which formed this group are Council of Naga Baptist Churches, Naga Baptist Churches, Naga Baptist Church Council, Nagaland Christian Forum. So this is basically a Christian forum. So, but they are representing the tribes who want their separate land, separate flag. So how do you propose to wipe out the such influence of these Christian groups?
No, the question is not of wiping out. You know, the main strategy has to start from raising awareness. For instance, if you look at what happens, you know, there is a huge amount of alcoholism, there's a lot of depression, all these problems are happening in that same tribal society. So what happens is, the way the Christian propagation works is that you cut off the organic social structures and you replace it by institutions. The same thing happens in the secularization of it, where the state institutions are replacing family. They are you know, so you cut off you sort of break organic society and you replace it by institutions. But the institutions don't work as effectively as organic society. So the way out is that finally there are some people in the Nagas who are realizing that this whole conversion thing has been a problem for us. But the power of the church, the institutional power of the church is so strong there, that's very difficult to even debate those ideas openly, right? So I think again the strategy has to be that the whole Indic tradition is finally about getting people to freedom, to getting people to liberation. But so we have to also realize salvation, the Christian salvation is not the same as moksha. It is not the same as liberation. In fact, somebody on Twitter was trying to convert me, some missionary, and he was arguing, some Indian guy only. You know, here just accept Jesus, you're going to get moksha. So when I asked him, have you gotten moksha? So he says, yes. So I said, now throw away your book, throw away the Bible. If you've gotten moksha, what do you need from the Bible for? Right? So then he went away, he didn't come back. Because the whole point is, from the Indian tradition, freedom is freedom from dogma. Right? Shankaracharya in Nirvana Shatkam says, na vedo na mantra. Right? Once you've gotten to the Nirvana state, you don't need all this. You can throw away the Bible. So tell them to throw away the Bible if they've received salvation. If they aren't throwing it away, then tell them to go away.
I don't understand. You just now informed that most of the conversions that have taken place in India and Africa and everywhere is after the colonization was over. But you know, it doesn't make any sense when those people were here in power. If they could not convert that time, how was it possible? How was it that it increased after that?
It's a really good question. Question is why? How is it that the conversions increased after independence? Again, you know, the problem we have is that they've got hundreds of scholars, thousands of people studying this, making PhDs, and whereas we don't have anybody who's even asking this question and trying to study it, right? So I don't have a pat answer for you, but my feeling is that especially when the British were here, they couldn't believe their luck at getting India. I mean, India was the glory of the world. It was like the biggest power of treasure and everything. They couldn't believe their luck that they actually got India. So they were little careful not to upset the stuff that was going on, because they were mainly interested in loot. The British were. So, but after independence, there was no such worry about not upsetting people, and they could the whole missionary agenda could go full force without any. And of course, the different parts of the political spectrum. It's not true. I mean, even the Congress party had done a commission that had questioned the missionary activity, and there was all this had happened. So it wasn't like there was no resistance, but there were also a lot of people who had internalized those ideas, internalized the benign nature of conversion, of Christianity, and so on and so forth. So those ideas internalized, and then the resources were poured in. A lot of resources were poured in for the conversion war as well. So
the biggest threat that India is facing because of this caste discrimination, which is, maybe on paper we can say that,
everybody is equal and all that, but this caste discrimination is still there. So particularly for the lower caste, it is still maybe many times a lucrative option to adopt Christianity.
Actually, I think I have a different story. Firstly, a lot of the conversions have actually not happened in lower caste; they've happened in so-called higher castes, right? And the other interesting part of the story is that 500 years after conversion in Goa, the Christians are more strictly adhering to the caste identities than they had even 500 years back. So that's a very good question, right? So now we are asking the right question. So we have created the story that the caste is the reason people are converging. In fact, all my research, and again it's a preliminary research, points to caste being the biggest barrier to conversion. Caste was the biggest reason that people did not convert. In fact, the Seventh-day Adventists in Telangana realized this. So one of the reasons a missionary said, why is there such a hard problem in converting in India? And they said that the Jati networks are a big obstacle to conversion. Because what happens is somebody converts out, then how are you going to find a bride for him? Right? How are you going, all the social ties are related to the Jati. So the Seventh-day Adventists in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, they started converting entire sub-Jati groups. They used to have conferences, they used to get them all together and start converting the entire sub-Jati groups because caste is the only barrier to conversion. So we have to re-examine what has been passed to us. You know, if this was true, why is it that for 500 years later, people are still Dalit Christians are the most discriminated against in the church. You can read articles on this. They're not even allowed to be buried in the same as graveyard. So, idea that Hinduism does caste discrimination, it goes away if you convert. This is all complete nonsense.
Come back therefore.
Yeah.
Same thing happened with blacks.
Yeah. Of course, the church is very segregated. The Sunday is the most segregated day in America. There's a black church, there's a Latino church, there is a white church, there is a Protestant church, there is this church. So nowhere has Christianity erased social distinction. It hasn't erased community distinction. It doesn't happen that way. So we need to re-examine this whole theory of caste and the received wisdom we have on caste. But that's another book. So that one I won't get into right now.